Yourself and Carly Pearce have this incredible duet out at the minute. I hope you're happy now. I know Carly co-wrote it with Luke Combs and Jonathan Singleton and Randy Montana, but is it true that when you recorded your part, you did it in your mobile studio on your tour bus? Carly then asked you to re-record it because she thought that you were leaning a little close to the Luke Combs original demo vocal.
I wasn't going to be home to record it in a regular studio. That's why I had the studio on the road, because I got 3 kids at home. So when I come home, I like to be home, and so I get all my work done out there on the road. So they sent me the song, and I went ahead and just sang it, kind of like that demo, just because I wasn't sure what they wanted exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she sent it back one time, and she said, hey, I want to hear a little bit more Lee. I want to hear you do what you do. And I said, well, hey, that's easy for me. So I just went back in and recorded it again, and there we were, and they loved it. So that's where we stand with it right now. It's recorded right there on my tour bus on the road.
Your last single, Rumour, that became your 5th number 1. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. And it's been around a while. You know, we wrote it 4 or 5 years ago, but I always knew it was special even as we were writing it. So it was just a matter of time.
I know you co-wrote that one with Cal Jacobs and Ashley Gorley, and I believe the more sort of soulful songs like this on the 4th album, that came from the fact that, and a lot of our listeners won't be aware of this, a couple of years ago apparently you discovered a polyp on your vocal cords and that required you to have surgery.
It did, and so before I had the surgery, my voice was just really tired all the time, and so I had to push extra hard to even sing one song. And so during the process before I went and had my surgery, when I was writing songs, I was writing extra soulful stuff because I had to push extra hard to get it out, you know? Now, I will say, when I got back and my voice was back to pure again, I had to kind of learn how to sing it raspy like that because that was just kind of a part of what that vocal needed to be.
You know, we hear about singers like Adele and John Mayer going through stuff like that. What's the recovery process like?
Well, both John Mayer and Adele went to the same doctor, and so, you know, I'm pretty sure that the recovery is probably similar. It's about 2 or 3 weeks of literally not talking at all, no whispering. You're not even supposed to cough, you know. The only time you open your mouth is to eat because that muscle is so delicate. It has got to fully heal before you go back. But the good news is once you get back in there after a couple of weeks of zero talking, you start back immediately. The doctor was like, look, you're going to feel what you can and can't do and what's good for it and what's not. He's like, but it's just a muscle that needs to be strengthened back up. So after that, it took another 3 or 4 weeks of me really working myself back to athlete shape. You know what I mean? And as a vocalist, when we're out there playing 9 or 10 shows in a row, you know, your voice gets really strong. Well, after a surgery, it's really weak, you know, because it's been sitting there dormant for a few weeks. And so you just got to work yourself back into it. And that's all I did was just kind of started talking softly and then singing. And then I had a tour starting up in that January. I had the surgery in October. And so I hadn't sang a full set until the first night of the tour. So I was living on a prayer at that time. It all worked out okay.
And the previous single, Boy, I know that was written by John Knight and Nicole Gallion. That's one that in particular means a lot to you. You've said that you relate it to both your own 2 sons as well as your father, but it's also one that's really connected with the public. I mean, I've heard stories of people at your concerts holding up pictures of their sons while you're singing it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they do all the time. And I felt like that was going to happen because it hit me like I had written it, you know, and a lot of people, it's their favorite song in my set because they have their own connection with it. And what's funny is there'll be mothers and daughters even that really understand and still get the same feeling that the guys do about boys and their daddies and stuff, and they love it just as much, you know, and I think it's a very special song, and it always will be to me.
I mean, I've listened to all of your albums, and your 4th one is definitely your most personal. I'd love to know what brought that on, and also how do you go more personal and deeper and also at the same time appeal to a wide audience?
It's a very fine line of doing stuff that's personal and the stuff that you really truly love and having hit songs with it, because I've always wanted to write and sing and perform great stuff, not just stuff that's a hit just for the fact that it's a hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it became a little more personal, probably a little because the family has just really, they're getting to ages now, or I've been missing them this last year, the last couple of years, because I've been on the road so much. I guess I'm just reflecting on that all the time. I just turned 40 this year. I'm looking forward, but I'm also looking back some, and some of it's stuff that you wish you could go back and do again, and some of it's stuff that you just look back with a smile on your face, and I love all that stuff. That's what country music has always been to me, even the music that I grew up listening to my whole life. And so I guess that's just what's coming out. I just want to be as real as I can be, and because I feel like I'm learning that the more real you are, the more people love the music.
And there are collaborations on the album with Edwin McCann and one of your own heroes, the great Warren Haynes. What was it like to work with him?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, Edwin McCain really is one of my heroes. Him and Garth Brooks I listened to like crazy growing up, and Edwin McCain had a humongous hit called I'll Be on the pop charts, and he's just a good old boy from South Carolina. So when I got to meet him for the first time, we wrote 2 songs together the first night. It was like we had known each other our whole life, and so that was extremely special to be able to work with my hero. And then Warren Haynes was friends with Edwin, so whenever I was looking for a special slide player on a couple of the songs on the album, you know, he had suggested Warren, and I've always loved Warren, and Warren is a legend. And he said, I could get him in there for you. And I was like, really? So he came into the studio, and I didn't know exactly what to expect, you know, from a guitar god. But he came in, and he was just as passionate about learning and, like, wanting to do the right thing for the song. And so as I produce my records, I'm always leading people in the direction that I'm hearing in my head. And so he was no different. He wanted to get it right in there with me, and so we worked together on it. And it was so much fun to be able to say that I worked with him, and I didn't just hire him and say play. I got him to come be a part of it, and we really were able to make music together, and that was the most fun part. Warren Haynes is a really, really special guy and loves music, but he's got a big old heart.
I've always wanted to ask you, you know, over the years, you've enjoyed huge success as a songwriter even for other artists, people like Jason Aldean and Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney. But back in 2007, a song you wrote with Kyle Jacobs and Billy Montana, More Than a Memory, it was recorded by Garth Brooks and became the first song to debut at #1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. What can you tell me about the writing of that song, but more specifically, how the success then affected your career?
There was a girl that I had written about 100 songs about when I first got to Nashville, and she was kind of the first love of my life through college, and, you know, we didn't work out, and I came to Nashville, and so I just was writing songs about this girl forever. In fact, my co-writers were like, okay, do we have to write another song about Brooke? Well, I was on the bus one night, and the whole idea of More Than a Memory came up to me because I was up writing her a handwritten letter, and I was thinking to myself at 4 a.m, why are you writing her a letter? I mean, you're not going to even probably give it to her, and she's just a memory, but you're physically up in the middle of the night writing her a letter. I thought, well, I guess she's more than a memory. If I'm, you know, she's a tangible, still a part of my life. And so I wrote that first verse in the beginning of that chorus, and I went to Kyle and Billy and said, guys, I said, this is something that I've got going and very special to me. And because those are 2 of my soulmates. Billy and Kyle are brothers to me. And so they know who I am, and they know my heart. And so it was easy to get into a room with them and finish that song.
A couple of weeks ago, Kip Moore, he put a photograph out on social media of himself and you and Ashley McBride, and he was teasing us of the prospect of perhaps in the future you 3 doing some shows together. Was he just sort of like keeping us going, or is there a potential of that happening? We
did a show together that night randomly for a radio station, and we talked about it because from like the end of the year and the beginning of this year, he did a big acoustic tour, and he loved it. You know, he had brought it up to us, too, to possibly get on and do something like that. Maybe even next year we'll just maybe get there and just do an acoustic thing, because that's all it needs. When you got great songs like he has and like Ashley has and voices, then you don't need a whole lot. We could just go with 3 guitars and go have great times and great shows, and that's what we talked about. And so who knows when it'll happen, but it's definitely a good chance. Who knows? We'll see. But he wasn't just bugging around.
Well, that leads me then to my final question. Are there any plans for you to come over to the UK and Ireland anytime soon?
Absolutely. We're trying our best right now to start booking some shows over there for next year.
Wow.
And I cannot wait to get over there. So I got some great friends that have been over there and played a good bit. Charles Eston and American Young, and my brother Louis Brice has been over and doing some shows. And so I'm excited. They love it so much. And I've always wanted to get over, but I've just been so bogged down with family and stuff, and it's hard to get away for that long, you know, when you got little babies at home. And so I believe next year we're going to start on our way, so we'll see if we can't get there next year.
Wow, sounds incredible. Lee, thank you so much for your time, continued success, and we look forward to welcoming you over to Ireland.
Absolutely. Well, good to talk to you. We'll talk to you again.